We are live, and good evening, Hampton Roads, and thank you for diverting your attention from Monday Night Football game tonight. I am Conrad Chesner, host of the Beach Brothers Show, and member of the 757 Battlecast Community Action Team. The Community Action Team is an apolitical initiative focused on Black empowerment. We may not be an organization that endorses candidates, however, we are deep into local politics, and we do so on purpose. We wish to take the sleeping giants and wake it and engaging, educating, and guiding the community to do for self and effectively compelling elected officials to champion community concerns. I am a watchdog within the Community Action Team, taking focus on Portsmouth, where I now live and own this house with my lovely wife to be. Of course, I also help out with Virginia Beach, where I grew up. Now, tonight's broadcast is for another segment of what I call the Greater Portsmouth Forum 2022. Last week, we had on several candidates running for City Council in Portsmouth: Donna Sy, School Board Member Clou Atkinson, Portsmouth City Councilman Bill Moody, Board Member Vernon Tillage. There are more candidates for the seats, including Sharon Anderson, Councilman Paul Battle, Nathan Clark, Ronald Diggs, Lakeisha Onyx Six, Councilman Chris Woodard, and of course, tonight's guest, Rear Admiral Mark Hugel. Rear Admiral Mark Hugel, thank you for joining the Community Action Team's program tonight. And let me jump you right here on the screen, and I will dispense, of course, with the titles and just get down to a nice political chat here. That's what we'd like to do, of course, is hopefully have fun and educate the Portsmouth audience at the same time. So if you could, for me, Mr. Hugel, Mark, tell us a little about yourself and your favorite slice of Portsmouth.
Yeah, thanks, Conrad, and thanks for bringing me on a week later than the contingent last week. As I mentioned to you, had another campaign event last week, so I appreciate you making time on your show this evening to follow up. So I am a Naval Academy graduate. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Systems Engineering. That was back in 1977. I have 2 engineering master's degrees from MIT, master's in mechanical engineering and a master's in naval architecture and marine engineering. Earned both of those degrees in 1992. I served on active duty in the Navy for 32 years. And along the way, I had 3 tours of duty at Norfolk Naval Shipyard, including as the 100th shipyard commander. That was back in 2000 to 2003. And eventually rose to the rank of 2-star Rear Admiral, which is the rank that I retired from back in 2009. When we retired, I told my wife, Luana, the Navy has told us where we have to live. Now you get to tell me where you want to live. And so we chose to come back to Portsmouth. We've been homeowners in Portsmouth since 1986. And so when we retired in 2009, we moved back here permanently, built another house in Sterling Point in 2016, and that's where we reside today. Our kids attended Portsmouth Public Schools for a portion of their schooling, and we've had a history with the community going all the way back to 1986. But really became close to the community during our time at the Navy Yard. So I've been in a leadership role since 1977, so 45 years of leading, first in the Navy, now in industry. I went to work for CACI International Incorporated back in the fall of 2009, and I continue to work with them today. Here in the community, I've been active in working on the board of directors for the Up Center, providing family and social services to the entire Hampton Roads community. And I'm about to step into chairman of the board of the Up Center next month. I'm on the board of directors of Starbase Victory, the Portsmouth 4th, 5th, and 6th grade STEM program. I serve on the Career and Technical Education Advisory Committee to Portsmouth Public Schools, on the Mayor's Military Affairs Committee, and I'm also the national president of the American Society of Naval Engineers. So I keep myself busy, and I'm running because I've been watching what's going on in my community now for ever since we moved back here. And I think I have some leadership gifting to offer the city, and hopefully we'll get a chance to serve the community and move the community forward. My favorite slice of Portsmouth, gosh, that's a tough question.
Mhm.
Certainly, Portsmouth has the greatest shipyard in the world, and so certainly that slice of Portsmouth, and really the people that work in Norfolk Naval Shipyard, I was close to, continue to be close to in my retirement. And then the Portsmouth has just so many things going for it. We have an awesome waterfront. We have an awesome old town. We have an awesome Main Street. We have Paradise Creek and Hoffler Creek and City Park. I mean, so there's just so many cool things about Portsmouth, and it's really one of the reasons that we chose to move back here. We love the city, we love the community, we love the people.
Excellent. I agree too, and I'm a newbie. I only got here in late April, right before I think the start of the Thursday night Sunset Thursday things down on High Street, and I've been to about 3 or 4 of those since that time. And then afterwards, I would go down and enjoy a meal like at Roger Brown's and passing the Commodore Theodore, which you hear about when you live in Virginia Beach and stuff like this. Stuff is kind of legendary. So that is, I guess, my brief slice so far is the High Street area, because that's a really good hub of commerce, and it just feels great down there.
And home to the farmers market every Saturday.
I might have to check that one out. I'm always in the market for a new place to get fresh food. So I'll look for that. Now, on to another topic that isn't so cool as farmers markets. And in fact, I call it the toll of tolls. Now, as we know, I moved to Portsmouth in April. I work, though, in Virginia Beach. I make a round trip during the weekdays. I have an easy pass to make it somewhat tolerable, but I still make less than $35,000, so the hit of tolls still hurts. Now, there's also a relief program that VDOT runs, and it's funded by Elizabeth City Crossing. But the relief program just bumped up from about a means test of 30,000 or so to 50,000,
right,
which would help out someone like myself a good deal. So, what would be your thoughts on the tolls themselves and the program, like the relief, and what can council do to help out going forward?
And so Portsmouth got the short end of the stick when it comes to paying tolls on the new tunnel. And to some extent, it's Portsmouth's fault. I don't know that there were enough voices speaking out loudly enough on behalf of Portsmouth, because the whole highway infrastructure thing in Hampton Roads has always been looked at regionally, and I think this was another one of those deals that was looked at regionally. But the real impact of the tolls is primarily felt on Portsmouth. If you live in Virginia Beach and you want to go to Norfolk, you go to Norfolk. If you live in Norfolk and you want to go to Chesapeake, you go to Chesapeake. You live in any of those places and you want to come to Portsmouth, you're probably going to pay a toll. And so the impact to our businesses in Portsmouth has been acute, and a higher impact than to the businesses of any other community in Hampton Roads. So as I say, I think Portsmouth got the short end of the stick when it comes to tolls, and with the way that the toll contract is written, the annual escalation, and it's kind of compounding interest. Every year the tolls go up 3% or so, 3% on top of 3%. You can do that math, and pretty soon it becomes unaffordable to travel through the tunnels from Norfolk to Portsmouth, Portsmouth to Norfolk. So it's important that we have a toll relief program for the folks who need the help. But what I'd like to do on City Council is to engage our state leaders and even our federal leaders to look for relief if we can get some assistance in either buying down the tolls, or, I mean, ideally paying off the tunnel bill and eliminating the tunnel tolls. I think City Council needs to be constantly speaking out on behalf of Portsmouth to our state leaders and even to our federal leaders looking for relief.
Conceptually, I like that idea. I've always wanted a little bit more cooperation between municipal, state, and federal when it comes to the real big, chunk ticket items like that. And you read stuff like the HRBT gets $2 billion to expand both the downtown and midtown tunnels or something that are across municipalities. They're helping transportation. That is something that the state of Virginia and perhaps federal government should perhaps help out more. So I kind of am intrigued by that idea of wanting to be on council and address it with the state and the Fed. So that's pretty interesting. Let's move on now to Portsmouth being a go with the Rivers Casino project. And what impact do you think the project will have, first on the economy, second on the community, and any ideas on mitigating negative effects?
Yeah, so I appreciate the question. As you know, the casino or no casino question was on a referendum back in the 2020 election, and really by a 2-to-1 margin, the community said bring the casino to Portsmouth. So that decision is behind us, and now Portsmouth is about to open a casino right after the first of the year in 2023. With a lot of promises made about the good things that are going to come. The job opportunities potentially for folks in Portsmouth, the tax revenue anticipated from the casino. So those are the potential upsides, and I say potential. So it's true that the casino is bringing with it more than 1,200 jobs, but those jobs aren't guaranteed to folks from Portsmouth, and so part of the challenge that we need to face inside Portsmouth, are we doing what we need to do to help our people get the skills they need to get the training they need to qualify and to get hired into those jobs, because new jobs to Portsmouth doesn't necessarily help Portsmouth if it's not Portsmouth people getting hired into those jobs. And the tax benefits, there are promises there, and I hope the tax benefit promises are fulfilled, because to your point, what are the potential downsides? Well, back when the question was on the referendum in 2020, I was running for city council back then, and was asked, so where do you stand on the casino? So I did a fair amount of homework regarding communities who invited casinos into their towns to try to understand what the impact of Portsmouth might be. There's a perception that casinos bring crime with them, but the studies show that the amount of increase of crime as a result of bringing a casino to town isn't necessarily statistically relevant. There's some additional petty crime, but the crime problem isn't really the biggest potential downside impact of the community. Turns out that the bigger downside impact of the community is if you're in an area where there's poverty, the number of people who end up below the poverty line increases as a result of a casino moving in. And so because Portsmouth has a relatively high poverty rate, any increase in the number of folks in Portsmouth that end up falling below the poverty line is not only detrimental to them, but detrimental to the community. And so I think we have to keep our eye on that as the community launches, and try to help the folks who are struggling below the poverty line help the folks who are close to the poverty line to help them work their way, up the ladder, not down the ladder as a result of the gambling that's associated with the casino.
Yeah, there's always a fine line, a balance, if you will, between community interest and economic interest. And
Right.
we would like to think that you improve the local economy, you're by nature going to improve the local community, but it's not always true. So as long as at least we approach this consciously, we should be trying to, pull out the negative and just embrace whatever positive we can get, and then work on the next thing after that.
Exactly.
Speaking of the next thing, after that, I understand you have a little bit of insight on GoTech programs and how they might impact Portsmouth.
Yeah, so I appreciate that question, and it actually kind of dovetails into what we were just talking about. So, and one of my priorities is to invest in our schools, and another of my priorities is to help Portsmouth people get on the pathway to jobs that become careers. So not just any old job, but a lifetime job, a job that pays well, a job that has benefits and the potential for a decent retirement, and can help lift people who are low on the pay scale, higher on the pay scale, and hopefully move them again up the ladder. And so I was in a Navy submarine meeting a couple of years ago, and a submariner friend of mine, Admiral, who's building the next nuclear submarine, mentioned during his discussion that the Navy is concerned that our building shipyards and our repair shipyards don't have enough skilled tradespeople to do all the work that's currently on the plate. To build 3 submarines a year and take care of the fleet that we have today, and mentioned that the Navy was looking to invest in communities that are interested in developing skilled tradespeople that could work in the shipyard business. And then he went on to tell a story of Danville, Virginia. And so I was sitting there thinking, Danville, Virginia. Well, I've been to Danville. There's not a whole lot in Danville, as I recall. So I'm keenly interested to hear this story. So it goes on to say that the folks in Danville about a decade ago recognized that the textile industry and the tobacco industry, which were the 2 biggest things going in Danville at the time, both those businesses were collapsing. And if they didn't do something for their kids, there would be no reason for their kids to stick around. And eventually there would be no Danville, Virginia. And so they began working as a community. So this is the parents, the school system, the community college, and industry collaborating. And over the past decade, they have built out 2 important programs in Danville that are producing skilled tradespeople who are getting hired straight out of high school or straight out of community college. Before they even have their diploma, they're getting jobs to go work in the building shipyards, in the repair shipyards, and into the suppliers, the folks who manufacture things that are provided to the shipyards to go into Navy ships. And so I started digging into that and discovered the 2 programs that they've developed in Danville. One is called GoTech, and the other is called Accelerated Training in Defense Manufacturing. So let me talk about GoTech, since that was your question. So the GoTech curriculum was developed over the past decade in Danville. They start at the middle school level, introducing kids to robotics, welding, laser cutting, 3D printing, and a host of other kind of cutting edge technologies that are showing up in our shipyards today. So they're doing that at the middle school level. And from 6th grade in Danville all the way through high school, the kids that get excited about those opportunities have curriculum available to them, so that when they graduate high school, they have the requirements satisfied to be a welder in the shipyard, be a machinist in the shipyard, be a metrologist, basically a quality assurance person in the shipyard. Why those three things? Well, Danville went to the shipyards and said, hey, if we're going to build out this program, what are the most important things that you need from the program? Because you're having trouble finding people with those skills out in the workforce. And those were the three areas that the industry, the shipbuilders and their suppliers said, you build us welders, machinists, and metrologists, and that's going to make an impact on our business. And we'll hire those people right out of high school or right out of community college. So I took a group of folks from Portsmouth over to visit Danville back in the springtime. And we saw the GoTech program, this middle school all the way to community college program. And it was fascinating. And so now we're working with Portsmouth Public Schools, again, on the Career and Technical Education Advisory Council to try to clone what Danville's doing here in Portsmouth Public Schools, with the goal being that we graduate Portsmouth kids from high school or send them directly into Tidewater Community College. So we've had a discussion with Dr. Constant at TCC, who is all in to collaborate with Portsmouth Public Schools so that we can basically do what they're doing in Danville for our kids. And we have the shipyards here. So Danville, when they graduate, they got to come here to get a shipyard job. Those jobs are already here. In fact, last week I was with the Society of Naval Engineers. We had several senior Navy leaders who spoke to the problem again, that they have several thousand jobs a year of trade skill people that they're having trouble filling because we're just not creating, and this is countrywide now, not creating enough skilled craftsmen that can do the welding, the machining, the pipe fitting, the electrical work, basically the skills that you need to build a ship. And coincidentally, Portsmouth is going to be a hub for the offshore wind industry. Turns out that the welders that weld on ships also weld on offshore wind platforms. The electricians that wire ships wire offshore generators. And so there's an overlap in the demand from the wind industry and the Navy, the maritime business. Again, looking for the same kind of skills. We need to get our kids into to those programs, and that's going to help our kids who aren't going to go to college move into jobs that are those career kind of jobs that I spoke to just a little bit ago. So thanks for asking that question. It's really important.
In your answer, there was a hint of mentioning Danville and mentioning some, you touched on the very specific issue of the offshore wind, which is also something that Virginia Beach is very intrigued about as well. And that's where I grew up. I work there still. So I ran, just like you did in 2020, for City Council in Virginia Beach. And I know that regionalism is on the minds of Virginia Beach citizens. It would be on the minds of Portsmouth citizens. And if, say, hypothetically, we were both in office, that's something we would both need to be conscious of. How do we help each other out? And is Portsmouth getting enough benefit from regionalism, and will you look to help it get more benefit going forward?
Well, so the short answer is no, Portsmouth's not getting enough benefits from regionalism. And so let's talk about some specific things. So I already mentioned tolls, and Portsmouth, I think pretty much everybody in Portsmouth feels like I do that Portsmouth got the short end of the stick when it comes to tolls. That the whole highway infrastructure thing is a regional issue because we're all sharing the highways, we're all sharing the bridges, we're all sharing the tunnels. But clearly Portsmouth, didn't get the best end of the deal when it came to the new Midtown Tunnel and the tolls that are there. But that's not a reason to back out of regional behavior. We just need to do a better job. I think the Portsmouth leadership needs to do a better job at making the case on behalf of Portsmouth when it comes to those regional deals. So I'll give you some for instances. So Hampton Roads Transit is a regional deal. We have two kind of main bus routes through Portsmouth, one that comes out High Street and one that comes out Portsmouth Boulevard. And so we have a lot of people in Portsmouth who use Hampton Roads Transit. They tend to be our less affluent citizens who use public transportation. Well, if you live in Craddock and you want to go to Churchland, you got to get downtown and then get on the High Street line and come out to Churchland. Interestingly, HRT is piloting an Uber-like program, but they're piloting it in Virginia Beach and they're piloting it in Newport News. Well, we probably have per capita higher ridership of public transportation in Portsmouth than those other two cities do. So why aren't we piloting that kind of a program here in Portsmouth where we have two main routes, but we have people that need to get transported to those two main routes in order to really take advantage of them. So there's an example. We need to be speaking up to with HRT. HRT could be providing that to Portsmouth. We got to be jumping up and down on the desk and asking for that kind of program. Another example, we could, in fact, we used to collaborate with other cities in the region to buy our police cruisers, our fire trucks, basically the equipment that we need in the city to support our public safety folks. We stopped doing that. Volume buying works just as well with police cruisers and fire trucks as it does with anything else that you buy in volume. And so there's what we as a region, I think, are missing an opportunity. Why aren't we all submitting our orders for fire trucks and police cruisers and all the other equipment that we need here in Portsmouth? And collaborating with the rest of the region to get volume buys for the equipment that we need to outfit the city. Same goes with the gasoline that we put in our equipment. We're not purchasing that gasoline in volume as a community where we could get a volume deal and save money. Instead, we're passing out credit cards to city employees to have them go buy gasoline at the local gas station. So there's opportunities like that regionally for us to leverage all of the cities in the region for everyone's benefit, including the benefit of our folks here in Portsmouth.
I'm also curious about the Portsmouth Citizens Public Trust. From topics like the city manager to possible private benefit from public dollars. What do you want to do to improve public trust as a councilman?
Yeah, so that's a really important question right now. As I've traveled around the city speaking with folks in civic leagues, folks in candidate meet and greets, folks in community forums like this, I'd say kind of the universal message that I'm hearing from folks around town is we don't trust and we can't trust the current city council. What are you going to do to earn our trust? And let's face it, so there's 11 candidates running for city council, and there's only 3 of those candidates that have a city council track record. The other 8 candidates, including me, have never served in city council, and so the voters simply have to take a look at the records of the candidates. So in the case of the folks that are on city council, and they have voting records and they have behavior records, they put it all on display in city council meetings, and there's some angst from the voters about the behavior that they've seen from some of our city council, current city council members. That's their record. I also have a record. I got a 45-year track record of leading, including 3 times through the Norfolk Naval Shipyard. There are an awful lot of Norfolk Naval Shipyard employees here in Portsmouth who worked with me at Norfolk Naval Shipyard during all 3 of my command tours. That, coupled with the fact that the Navy saw fit in my leadership skills and my capabilities to eventually promote me to Rear Admiral, hopefully suggests to the voters, okay, this guy's got a track record, and it's a track record that includes earning the trust of the Navy, earning the trust of shipyard workers that live here in Portsmouth. And so my hope is that track record measures up favorably compared to the other 10 candidates for city council. At the end of the day, we have to be able to trust the folks that we elect to serve us, not to serve themselves, not to serve other interests, but to serve the community. And so you know, a lot of my time spent during the campaign has been in listen mode, listening to what's important to folks around the community, to try to use that to shape the things that I've committed during the course of the campaign to work on behalf of the community.
And serving the community in such a way will invariably have to take you to some more pressing topics like violent crime, which in Portsmouth is a worry. And I want to know what your understanding of where the root of this crime is coming from and how you want to fix it while on council.
Yeah, so another important topic, and in fact, you know, restoring safety to our streets is my number one priority, because it's the number one priority of everyone that I've spoken to around the community. And so where's it coming from? So you know, the Portsmouth Police Department started doing, they call them reset walks. So every time there's a homicide, within a few days after the homicide, the police department sponsors a walk in the community where the homicide occurred. And the reset walks include not only the folks from the police force, folks from the fire department and our EMTs, but also are open to members of the community. And so I've been on several of those reset walks with the police department to walk through the neighborhoods and listen to the walk through the neighborhoods is a knock on the neighbors' doors and hey, is everything okay? You know, what are your concerns as a result of what happened here right in your neighborhood just in the last few days? And so over and over again, you hear folks who are hurting because of gun violence. Now, the benefit of participating in those walks is an opportunity to talk to the police officers who are out there every day fighting the problem of gun violence and trying to track down the criminals that are involved in gun violence. And what I've heard them tell me is that a lot of the gun violence that's happening in Portsmouth is not being initiated by people who live in Portsmouth. It's people coming from outside Portsmouth, driving into Portsmouth to conduct their nasty business, including with their guns. And so there's a couple things that I've kind of outlined in my approach to restoring safe streets. First off, you know, we have more than 100 police officers paid positions that are empty right now. We can't find police officers to put in those positions fast enough to fill them. The approach taken to address that by the current city council was to raise the starting salaries for new recruits, with the hope that raising the starting salaries will attract people into the police force. And to some extent, it's worked. we're continuing to get new recruits into the police academy, but certainly not fast enough to fill the 100 empty vacancies that we currently have. But at the same time that we've raised the pay for recruits to try to attract them into those positions, we're losing experienced officers. And so again, as I've walked in the neighborhoods with the police officers, I've had this discussion with them, and the answer that I've heard over and over again, hey, I'm a police officer and I've served 10 years on the force, and my compensation is very similar to the compensation of that brand new recruit. And so what's happened is we've raised the starting pay for the very youngest of our police officers without raising the pay for those who have experience. And as a result, the pay scale has become compressed. And so one of the things, in addition to continuing to recruit new police officers, is to decompress the pay scale for the police officers that we have. And it's not just police officers, all our public safety folks. Okay, it's the police, it's the fire department, EMTs, paramedics, dispatchers. I mean, they're all part of the team, the public safety team, and they're all suffering from this pay compression issue. Well, if we want to keep the experience, then we need to pay for it. In my experience in the federal civil service is we not only pay people more for when they're promoted, but we also offer step increases every few years, so that as you stay at the same pay grade but gain experience, there's value in your experience, and that value is recognized by increasing your pay with pay steps. We need to take a look at our pay system, our compensation system, particularly for our public safety folks, where we're in danger of continuing to lose experienced people when other folks, other communities come in and offer a few $1,000s more of pay that we're not offering to our experienced folks, and we're losing experienced people to other places in the community. So that's first and foremost. We got to help out the police with by recruiting and by decompressing their pay. We also need to help them out with technology. So kind of back to if the police say that a lot of folks that are perpetrating our gun violence problems are people coming in from out of town. And there's technology out there that can you can put on a light pole that reads, monitors license plates coming into the community. And if the license plate is on a reported stolen vehicle, and quite often they are, the technology will alert the police, hey, there's a stolen vehicle that's just driven into a Portsmouth neighborhood. Probably they're up to no good. Now, in order for that technology to work, you got to have police officers on the force to be in a position to respond when you get the alert. But working on the number of police and then augmenting them with some technology to help them find the bad guys before the bad guys pull their guns out and start shooting, really important. Additionally, there are grassroots activities here in Portsmouth that are, helping us get kids off the street, giving them team sports and other activities to give them something to do that's a healthy environment and an alternative to just hanging out and shooting at each other. Unfortunately, I think some of the grassroots folks that we've had come to City Council have come to City Council and said, hey, if you give me money, I'll put a program together. There are other grassroots organizations who have come to City Council and said, I have a program. Here's the benefit it's going to offer kids. And if you think my program is worthy of funding, then I'm ready to take your money and put it to good use. My thinking is that's the right approach. Okay. put a plan together, and then let's talk about money. No plan, no money is kind of my thinking on that approach.
Those previous 6 or so questions are sort of ones that I were able to field amongst other Portsmouth friends who are interested in the community and their thoughts, including my own with polls and stuff. But now I want to move on to a few questions that are based more on the community action team.
Okay.
First one is regarding workforce housing. And as a reminder, workforce housing is defined as housing affordable to households earning between 60 and 120% of area median income. So workforce housing targets middle income workers, including police officers, as you just mentioned, firefighters, teachers, healthcare workers, retail clerks, and the like. What will you do to increase workforce housing opportunities in Portsmouth?
Yeah, great question, and an important one in our community, because we are a more blue collar than white collar community, and the job opportunities that we have here locally allow people to afford housing if they get into those jobs. But the housing needs to be affordable, and the housing market right now, not just in Portsmouth but across the country, has really kind of spiraled almost out of reach for a lot of first-time home folks interested in buying their home for the first time. So I've done some homework on communities that have done affordable housing or made housing affordable housing available inside the community. One of the things that most of them do is they expand the participation in their local housing authority beyond kind of the traditional folks, to include people like Habitat for Humanity, to include local transportation people, kind of back to the HRT discussion from a little while ago, so that you get the participation of people who work, not just developers, not just the housing authority, not just city employees, not just politicians, but you get people who work in the providing help to folks that need it in this area, and you get their ideas. I mean, I'm a big believer in diversity, getting lots of ideas on the table so that we can choose the best ideas to pursue. And so I think expanding participation in PRHA to include some folks like that, it's worked in other places. It surely can work here. Secondly, I think it's important that as a member of City Council, that we invite the city manager and local developers to the table to have the discussion about investing in housing in Portsmouth, and kind of setting some early parameters on what kind of housing we need, where we need it, where the land is available to do development, and to make sure that we're taking a look at things like access to public transportation, access to the good jobs. It doesn't do any good to train a new shipyard worker and build them a house in Danville, Virginia. You want to build them a house right down the road from the Norfolk Naval Shipyard, so they have easy access to get to their job once they have won their job. And then so here's one other element of affordable housing in Portsmouth. So it's not just buying the house that needs to be affordable, it's owning and sustaining the house that needs to be affordable. And one of the issues that we've got here in Portsmouth for all of us is our high property tax rate. So it turns out that about 40% of the property inside the Portsmouth boundaries is federal owned or state owned. And there are programs at the federal level and at the state level, a program called Payment in Lieu of Taxes. And basically what that program is intended for at both the federal and the state level a recognition that when the feds or the state encumber property inside a city boundary, that takes some amount of property off of the property tax base. And so states and the feds have recognized that issue, which creates inequitable tax rate in the community because of kind of an overwhelming encumbrance by the federal or state land users. So we got 40% of our land encumbered by the feds and the state. So I've been poking at this and asked, so why haven't we asked for payment in lieu of taxes from the federal government, from our congressmen? Why haven't we asked for payment in lieu of taxes from the state, from our state legislators? Turns out that we have some payment in lieu of tax revenue stream coming from the state, but none or nearly no payment in lieu of tax revenue stream coming from the feds. It's time for us to ask. It wouldn't take a whole lot of federal money paid into the Portsmouth checkbook to lower our property tax rate from the highest in the region to the middle or the lowest in the region. If we got up and down, jumping up and down on the desk and asking for help from the feds and from the state to acknowledge that we have important property that they're encumbering, and it's putting a burden on the property taxpayers here in Portsmouth, including the ones that we're trying to provide affordable housing to, who not only will have to pay a mortgage, but will have to pay property tax on top of the mortgage. That's disproportionate compared to the property tax rates of anyone else in the region.
I once again admit to being intrigued that we're looking possibly at state and federal help on this matter. I really believe that the feds can be at least the greater things on many different issues besides housing, because they could afford it via deficit spending. This is my personal view. It doesn't have to be everyone's political view, but the tax dollars that we have to pay here in Portsmouth and here in Virginia are direct from our income when it comes to how it's then brought out in terms of spending. But for the feds, they could create the money themselves. Granted, they could create inflation, but again, that's a whole deeper topic about that. But I'm just intrigued that you appreciate the idea of the feds coming and helping out. I also want to ask, will you treat your council membership and possible commission liaisonship with enough respect to attend at least 80% of the time? This is sort of focusing on how the community action team likes to actually weigh our elected officials against the quality of work. The quality of work seems like if you're going to work and putting in effort, that's at least a minimum. So I was curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so here was a recent headline, once again, painting Portsmouth in a bad light because of bad behavior on city council. So, in fact, I think one of the city councilmen even said, "Well, there's no policy, therefore, if you want me to attend, write a policy to tell me to do the right thing." I said at the candidate forum last week at IC Norcom. So I was taught to do the right thing, whether it was written down and instructed to be or not. So my dad was a plumber. He was also my Little League coach. My dad taught me a long time ago, if you're going to do something, you better commit and go for the whole deal. Okay, you don't sign yourself up to do something half. You sign yourself to do something all. So I recognize that the commitment that I am making to the community by running for city council and getting elected to city council is a commitment to go in all, not half. And so I think the folks who elect me should expect me to be available. And I'm not talking about being available once a week on social media, because I'm not a social media pro. I'm much better doing availability in person. And so getting out to Civic League meetings, going to the boards and commission meetings that were assigned as liaisons, meeting folks where they are and listening to them, and not just broadcasting from the dais in city council chambers, explaining to the citizens what they need, my approach is getting out, meeting people face to face, and really that's been the biggest difference for me from the campaign in 2020 to the campaign now. 2020, we were in the middle of COVID. Now we actually have a chance to get out and chat with people in the civic leagues, chat with people at events on the weekends or in the evenings, and it's critical to keep doing that because otherwise you lose touch with what's important to the people in the community. And after all, the point of serving is to serve those people and to serve the things that they need.
I like that. Now, my next question will be, will you vote to provide the school system, Portsmouth schools, with their requested budget?
So I'll go back to the question about GoTech. I want to see Portsmouth expand our career and technical education program because I think we're underserving the kids in our school system that are not planning to go to college, can't afford to go to college, or don't want to go to college, just want a good job. And so I'm interested in ensuring that the school system not only gets the money that they ask for, but that they get money that we need to correctly resource the career and technical education program, to expand it to serve the kids that are currently being underserved. Now, I got to be a little bit careful with that answer. Okay, so I'll go back to my time at working in the Pentagon. In the Pentagon, when somebody told me they got all the money they asked for, it immediately raised questions. Well, did you ask for the money that you needed or the money that you wanted? So I think one of the challenges that we need to walk a fine line on is to ensure that the school board, the school superintendent, is asking for the funding that the school system needs to serve the kids. A lot of folks are looking at that school budget as it's being assembled, and so I'm going to trust that they're looking at it closely. But Ronald Reagan said, "Trust but verify." I've dealt with big budgets before. I've taken big budgets apart and asked 1,000 questions about budgets, and I won't be afraid to take a close look at the budget that the school board submits. But at the same time, I want to make sure that we're investing in the schools to serve the kids that I feel are currently being underserved. We're doing a good job helping the kids get ready for college that want to go to college. We need to do a better job of helping the kids that are not going to go to college get the skills that they need to win a job that becomes a career.
And I appreciate you use the word invest, because the final community action team question of tonight touches again on the youth. You mentioned GoTech and other programs, and you mentioned on another question how voting is sort of given some money to organizations to help against violence. And it comes down to this: will you invest in youth programs, activities, and jobs more so than what you might have already touched on?
Yeah, well, so I've already spoken to the investing and helping our kids get jobs. I touched on helping our kids with youth activities, and again, I'll just simply foot stomp. No plan, no money. But if you have a plan, bring it, because we need people who are willing to commit themselves to helping the kids with, developing teamwork, developing social skills outside of school, and meeting the kids where they are. We need those people to step forward, and we need to support them. We need to invest in the kids through them. But like I said, it starts with a plan, a plan that makes sense, that shows a benefit to the kids, and once we're convinced that we have that plan, then absolutely we're going to want to invest in those activities, because in the end, it's all about helping the kids.
Right now, I would like you to close off with a send-off message to Portsmouth citizens about why they should consider you come November.
Okay, Conrad, again, I appreciate you making time to circle back with me tonight and inviting me on the show, and some really important questions that we had a chance to talk through this evening. As I mentioned earlier, so I've been at this leading thing for 45 years. Ever since I graduated from college, I've been in a leadership role in the Navy, and since the Navy in industry. And so I think I have some leadership gifting. One of the leadership gifts that I've learned along the way is to create a vision and then get people to buy into that vision. I call it creating a shared vision. I have a vision for Portsmouth. It starts with safe streets. It continues to working with our schools to provide a better education to our kids. And then ultimately it leads to helping our folks, not just our kids, but even folks who are beyond school and struggling to make ends meet, to provide them the training they need to get the skills to enter the job market with a job that eventually becomes a career. Those are my priorities, and they're my priorities because you all said that they were your priorities. That's my vision for Portsmouth. We've already talked about the cool things around Portsmouth. There's a lot of good things in Portsmouth, and it's one of the reasons that we moved back here in 2009 by choice. So we got to build on the good things. We got to work on those priorities, and primarily we got to pull together as a community. So the priorities, as I mentioned, are not Churchland priorities. They're not Brighton priorities. They're not Cavalier Manor priorities. They're not Parkview priorities. They're Portsmouth priorities. Everybody in the community has agreed we need safe streets, better schools, opportunities for our folks to get into jobs that become careers. And so if we've all agreed on that, then we're already sharing the vision. And now we got to work together to achieve that vision. Not everybody has the same ideas on how to get there. That's okay. We have a diverse community, and diversity is powerful. It allows us to get lots of ideas on the table so that we can pick from the very best ideas and move forward. And we can engage different people in the community to help us move forward. But we also need strong leadership. We need leadership that you can trust. So I believe in service with integrity, and I believe in providing leadership that you can trust. Those are important facets that you should expect from your elected officials, and those are my both commitments that I've made everywhere I've been in a leadership role, and my commitment when I'm elected to Portsmouth City Council. So again, thanks for bringing me on the show tonight.
And I want to personally appreciate and thank Rear Admiral Mark Hugel, our friend Mark, for joining the Greater Portsmouth Forum brought to you by the Community Action Team. Mr. Mark, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your evening. Catch you next time. If you live in Hampton Roads, if you study local politics, and you have a passion to help the Black community across the 7 cities, email 757battlecat@gmail.com to voluntarily join. Like the Facebook page and the YouTube channel you are watching this on. Help us hold our electeds accountable at the source. And of course, you all have a great night. Catch you next time.